This week's show with Red Dress creator Kirstie Macleod is sponsored by the Embroiderers Guild of America at egausa.org. In addition to all of the tremendous things that EGA offers for needleworkers, they make it easy to join. To do so, all you have to do is go to the homepage, egausa.org, and click on Join EGA, or just hover over it, as in this case, and then down here, Join EGA Memberships, and select that. And then what comes up is this page, and if you scroll down just a bit, you'll see the different types of membership. So individual, $55, young adult, $30, youth, 7 to 17, $15, lifetime, $2,500, and then down here in the chart, all of the benefits. But the really neat thing when it comes to joining is finding a chapter. Now, you have two choices. You can become a member at large, and that is someone like me who is not affiliated with a local chapter, and you can do that here. But then if you want to find a local chapter because you'd like to go to meetings and meet stitchers in your area, you simply click on the Find a Chapter link down here, and then it will give you a chance to put in your zip code or chapter name if you happen to know the chapters. And I'm just going to leave that blank. But then you go over here to the map, and so what is the chapter in Montana? And you click on that, and then up comes a contact information for the Midland Empire chapter in Billings, Montana. And so you can connect with them, and you can join the chapter along with your overall EGA membership. So you can join the chapter and the EGA itself all through this system. Here's the Rose City Stitchers in Portland, and you can go. There's 224 chapters, and so you can join, view on the map, join or renew. Once you've selected your local chapter, or if you're going to be a member at large, then you go through the process. It's the usual. Put your credit card in. Name, contact information, so on and so forth, and you become an EGA member, and then they'll send you a membership email with your number and all those things. And once you've completed your membership, then a whole new world of needlework enjoyment will open to you. So join today so you can advance your stitching, and thanks to the EGA for supporting Fiber Talk and this week's conversation with Kirstie Macleod of the Red Dress Project. Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr, and you are listening to Fiber Talk, the twice-weekly podcast for needlework artists. And back with us for a second time, Kirstie Macleod of the Red Dress Project. Kirstie, welcome.
Thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure.
Oh, thanks for doing this. Okay, so for those who are new, or those who have not listened to the first one, this is Kirstie's second time. So July 19, 2025, so just a couple months ago, we did a show with Kirstie about the Red Dress Project, the impact it had on people, how it worked, all of the things, and go back and listen to that because you want, it's quite a story, the impact it had on Kirstie and people she's met and women in third world countries, the whole shooting match. It's really quite a story. But we did not have time to talk about the mechanics, and it's the best word I can come up with, the mechanics of this whole project, because there's the impact on people and the involvement of people, but then you actually have to make a dress and get it embroidered. And so Kirstie is back for a second time, and we're going to talk this time just about the dress itself, how it was put together, how people contributed, how they communicated with people from around the world, and so on and so forth. So you get that other side of the story of this incredible project. And then I'll remind people that there is a book about the project, And the book signing, tell us about the book signing.
So there's going to be a big celebratory launch in Bristol in England on the 29th of this month, as well as a big exhibition of the red dress and lots of documentation from the greater project. Very exciting.
Yeah. Okay. And then Kirstie travels around the world. So now you're going to be in Wales
Yes,
coming up, and
coming up, yeah, before the big launch, and then Bristol, and then after that we're going to Devon for a big exhibition in a National Trust house for 3 months.
for 3 months.
Yeah, and that'll take us to January of next year.
Oh boy. All
Yeah.
right. So yeah, that's incredible. So if you're in the UK, chances to meet Kirstie and to see this dress and all the things. So check that out. And then I would just encourage, Kirstie tries to travel around the world with the dress. And so if you go to the reddressembroidery.com, go to the website and then keep up with the schedule, because if it's within shouting distance of you, somewhere in the world coming up in the future, move a small mountain and get there, because you want to, you want to
Thank
be in
you.
on that. Yeah, and when you do these events, what you try to do 2 a year, was it? Do I recall correctly?
So I do 2 long haul a year just because I'm a single mom, so I can't be away from my kids for too long. But I do lots of shorter ones and lots around the UK. But all going well, next year there's going to be 3 overseas, which is hopefully Vietnam, Rwanda, and Australia, Brisbane in Australia. Then the following year, hopefully, it's going to come to 3 different venues, maybe even 4 back in the US, which would be great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So there we go. So we have lots of listeners in Australia, so watch for that. And then in 2 years in the U.S., I'm not kidding you. I've studied this thing 6 ways to Sunday now to get ready for these things, and you want to move a small mountain to get there and see this thing, because this is just one of the neatest things I've ever seen. All right, so the mechanics of all of this. So let's start with the dress itself.
Mm-hmm.
And reiterate for us, in the first show you told us why you went with red, but let's tell that again to start.
Yeah, so for me, you can't ignore red. And I really wanted the dress to be noticed and looked at. I knew that it was going to be holding the voices and stories of lots of different people from around the world. And I wanted to have that kind of statement, look at me. But probably even more important than that, it's all the connotations to do with emotions like anger and rage and love and passion and blood and war and women's cycles. And for me, trying to think of the color that best represents the feminine voice, or even the human voice, for me, it was this blood red color. It was very important that it wasn't too pillar box red, or too bright. It had to be the exact right tone. So the fabric, which is a silk dupion, has got either the warp or the weft is black. So it has this really rich kind of depth to the fabric. And interestingly, I didn't realize when I began the project that if you turn the dupion around different directions, obviously the way the light hits it will mean that the depth of the red is coming through differently. So you'll see on the dress that there's lots of pieces that look slightly different shades, and it's simply because people have used different directions of the silk. So yeah, it was kind of like a happy accident, but I'm quite happy about that now.
Yeah. Now, getting the right red, I mean, because there's 5 billion reds, was that a lot of swatches of cloth laid on a table to find the right one, or were you able to right away identify what you wanted?
Yeah, it was instant. It was the whole beginning of the project. In fact, so much of it continues to be, but was so synchronistic and it all happened so fast. And I just by chance happened to be in Paris, and which I'm never in. That's already different. And then I suddenly heard that there was a textile fair on, so I was like, oh well, I'd love to go, and I went to it, and then I found this incredible silk seller. And yeah, very quickly just was like, that's the one. It was so quick. And they had the facility. So the company is called Alba Gauguin. They're no longer, sadly, but they had a facility to choose from a whole book of embroidery designs, and they would add it on by machine, and also an edging to the fabric. So it was a way to start off the project, because obviously 50 meters of fabric is a lot, and it was quite daunting. So I was like, well, I'll get a portion of it embroidered with this base layer. It's very fine, but it gives a nice texture. So yeah, I chose my design, chose the scalloped edging, which you'll see around the trim of the dress. And then off they went, and then it got sent to me back in England about 3 weeks later. So that was the roll of fabric that the
Oh,
whole dress began with. Yeah.
so you didn't have to haul that back on a plane
No,
then?
luckily, no, it was all sent. Yeah. But I still have the original little tag that was on the fabric.
Uh,
I'll always keep it. I'll frame it. It's very special.
so what was it about, I mean, we're going to do an awful lot of embroidery, like a ton of embroidery on this dress. What
Hmm.
was it about silk? Is it the silk Dupion? I've never held a piece, so I don't know. Is it conducive? Is that you chose that because it was conducive to embroidery, or it was a fabric that you liked and said what you wanted and you just dealt with it?
Yeah, it was fabric that I really liked working on. So my training is much more in fine art than in embroidery. I did do a BA in textile design, but we didn't learn embroidery on it. But I guess, yeah, through my work in London, my artwork, which often involved garments, I made a lot of garments and particularly dresses for maybe the preceding 8 years. So I had a lot of experience. And I love with Dupion and with taffeta, it has like a papery quality. So for me, it's just really lovely to work with, like when you don't have to worry about slipping fabrics or being too watery or too robust. It's just, for me, it's just the perfect kind of papery texture, which lends itself to embroidering. Like you don't even need to use a frame. Most
Oh,
people
okay.
didn't. Yeah. So yeah, it was just purely just my gut instinct, really. But I've never regretted it. It's been such a fantastic fabric, and it doesn't really crease that much. I mean, occasionally you might get a few creases, but usually I just put her on the stand, and after a few hours, it'll just all fall out. Um, and yeah, I mean, considering the amount of traveling, packing
Yeah, yeah,
that she goes through, this fabric is, yeah, really standing up to the
yeah.
test of time. But someone did say to me last year, "Oh, it's a shame you didn't make it in a synthetic fabric because the silk will obviously break down and erode far quicker," which is true. But I think it would have looked very different on a synthetic fabric, and
Yeah.
I don't think it would have had the same, yeah, feeling and depth and warmth. Which is why I need to really document and preserve the project in all other ways so that
Right,
it can be enjoyed in the future when the
right.
dress can no longer be out.
Yeah, I'm no fabric expert, but to me, a synthetic fabric on a project like this would just no,
Yeah,
no,
no,
no, not happening. Not even close. No,
no.
no. Okay, now this question I've been wanting to ask you all through the last time we talked. I wanted to know when you designed the dress. Tell about
Mm.
designing the dress, and then other people have worn it. Did you fit it to you? Did you fit it to you, but have a little looseness so that others could wear it? How did you approach that whole the designing of the actual dress?
Yeah, the size. So, yeah, originally I used to wear the dress as an installation. So the first 3, 4 years of the project
Uh huh.
was the presentation of the piece was me wearing the dress shut inside a tight perspex cube. I mean, literally drilled shut. I had to have someone within 10 meters of me in case there was a fire. And I used to sit in there for 4 hours at a time and just stitch onto the dress. So as well as like, all the intention and the cross-cultural collaboration, and voices, that was all there. But there was also other elements that I included at the beginning to do with kind of oppression and inequality and injustice and male gaze and objectification and all these other things that I was interested in at the time. But I'm sure we talked about this last time. After a few years, I really began to feel that the presentation wasn't appropriate for where the project
Yeah.
was heading. So then, yeah, it was a really great process actually of me just kind of refining the piece and actually realizing that it was the embroiderers and their stories that needed to be the central focus, and that actually the cube and having me in it was just a complete distraction. So that was all removed. But yeah, so the dress was made to fit me and it hasn't been altered. And obviously I'm quite small, but the dress has this really lovely quality of the women that she is worn by. It just fits. It just fits. It's kind of magic. There was actually one lady that it was really uncomfortable for me actually where it didn't, but I think only one in the full 16 years isn't bad. But yeah, lots of ladies who are different sizes and shapes have worn it and it's looked absolutely incredible. So
So
Thank goodness.
there's an element of destiny in this whole thing then.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think
Yeah.
so. And I think people often say, if you did it again, would you make the same dress? I think I would make sure that it could be worn by more women.
Okay.
Um, I'd put with the calico dresses, it's all laced at the back. So that means that
Oh.
most sizes can wear it. However, there is something lovely in the fact that only 27, I think, women have worn it. Um, and just in terms of the conservation and that kind of thing. But I never want to get into a size situation or debate. I mean, it's hard enough being a woman in this day and age without having to be judged for how big or small you are. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it's a size
So
8.
okay, so that because I've just wondered, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
So so you start with you and you stick with you, and
yeah,
that's just the way it
yeah.
is.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But I don't wear the dress anymore. Like I really do intentionally stand way back. I've been asked to a few times, and I just say no.
Yeah.
It's really not for me. It's for the embroiderers.
Well, yeah, because I mean, just in talking the last time, the project has moved way beyond you.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. It's not you really much at all. It's
No, it's not. I'm in the background,
yeah.
just kind of guiding. But it's much more about the embroiderers and their remarkable stories and experiences.
Yeah. Now, is it a two-piece garment? Is it a bodice and a separate skirt, or is it all one
Yes.
piece?
Yeah, it's two separate pieces. Thank goodness, because it would have been so much more difficult to work with one piece. Yeah, so it's two pieces, but they almost like click together, if you see what I mean. The top of the skirt is boned
Oh,
to because of the weight of the skirt. So for the first kind of 5 or 6 years, it wasn't, and it used to sag. The whole front of the dress would sag, and particularly where the gold lotus, which is super heavy, created by Alam Khan in India, wherever that was, it would just pull the whole waistband down. So
oh,
so Gail, my collaborator, just said we need to just fully reinforce that waistband. So yeah, it's fully boned, and that sits perfectly underneath the bodice, which is also boned. So it literally just clicks up together, and then there's a peplum around the bottom of the bodice, which just kind of creates a nice seal between the two.
oh, okay, all right. Because it looks like one piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
but in
But
terms of practical and logistics, having it in two is a lot easier.
well, that was exactly what was going through my head when I was thinking about this. Is it's got to be two because it's just
Yeah.
impractical otherwise. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm wincing at the thought of how that would be, just in so many ways, and also in the construction and the making and the embroidering and everything. It's been brilliant to have them as two separate pieces.
Yeah. Now this thing, what is it? It's 15 pounds. How many kilos?
So it's 6.8
Yeah.
kilograms. Is yeah.
Yeah. Six. So at some point, you had to be concerned about how heavy it was getting.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm the one obviously that's carrying it around all the airports
Yeah.
and on the plane and everything. And yeah, there's been times. I mean, the whole luggage situation is actually one of the most stressful elements of the project. I have so many cases of broken. So often I will bring her on a plane in a wedding dress box. She has her own seat next to me,
Yeah.
strapped in. But those wedding dress boxes, it's just big enough to get her in, but it's not enough for the weight. So, I mean, the amount of boxes that have snapped and broken. One of them snapped in the middle of Washington Airport as I was transiting to Vermont, which was incredibly stressful. So I think ideally, what I would I haven't found like the perfect thing yet, because I also have a flight case which is brilliant for her. She's got room to breathe, and it's got wheels, and it's so robust, and it's got a really good handle, and it's strong, but it's so heavy and it's really cumbersome, so I can't bring that on a plane. I can't wheel it through. It's just way too heavy. So at the moment, yeah, I use wedding dress boxes on a plane, and I'm thinking very seriously about trying to like get one and kind of put some wheels on the bottom of it and try and
Hmm.
kind of add some bits on. Otherwise, some planes I can take her in an actual case. It all depends on luggage allowances and budgets as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Luggage fees alone. Holy smokes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then and then on top of buying an extra seat just for the dress, geez.
Yeah, and just getting through the airport, because understandably all the airport staff stop me at every level, just saying you need to go and check in that bag, and I'm like, no, this is a dress, it's got its own seat, here are the two tickets, one for me, one for her.
Uh-huh.
and they just like, I don't understand what you mean, go and check in your bag. And this happens at every station, probably about 5 or 6 times before I even get into security. So that's very wearing. And then in security, I think it's been three or four times they've fully wanted to search the bag.
Oh
So then
no.
that's a whole thing. And the last time it was quite funny, which was, I think it's about 2 years ago. So the dress was really in momentum and was about to go to a museum. So I said to the lady, okay, that's fine, just to let you know that this is a museum piece and it's worth this much money, I think. And so you need to wear gloves and everything. And she was almost trembling with fear. And so she got two other people to come and help her as they were unwrapping it all. And then it was actually great because they had this whole perspex like wall around them. So the whole of the security, lines of security, probably like 100 people, maybe even more, were all in that room going, oh my God, what's in that? What is it? Oh, it's a massive dress. And it created this really exciting buzz. So then obviously I was then giving out website addresses and business cards and,
Right.
so it was great marketing for me, but also stressful. But they were very, very gentle and considerate. But yeah, usually, because they obviously have to scan the box as it goes through.
Right. Right.
And I did ask once, because it's a beautiful image, what comes up. I've
I'll
managed to
bet.
see it a few times. I wanted to film it and stuff, but obviously that wasn't a possibility. So yeah, it's all. I have to really brace myself for travel, airport travel. Definitely, it's not
Yeah.
straightforward.
So when you get through security and you're free to go to the gate, it's a huge sigh of relief that
Yeah,
just
well, often then I'll have to go through it with them again, saying, no, you need to go and check that back in. I'm like, no, come on, I've got this far. Two
that's right.
seats.
Oh,
That still goes on. And then when I get onto the plane, the same thing can still happen. You need to go and check that in. I'm like, no, come on, I've been.
yeah.
And then there was a couple of times where very kindly the venue had organised my tickets and had bought the seats, by the fire exit, so it has
Oh,
more
yeah.
legroom,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that it would be great, which is a lovely gesture. But they have a policy where you can't have anything
Ah.
other than human strapped in. So then there have been times where they literally just will not let the dress go on her seat. So then they have to go and find somewhere on the plane where she'll fit. And, out of my eyesight, that's the thing,
Yeah.
because I like to see her. So that's not been ideal either. But yeah, and then I've been on like some tiny planes. One of them to Pietermaritzburg in South Africa was literally like a toy. It was tiny, and just trying to find a space for her to go in there. It took ages, and of course everyone's like, "What is this? What are you doing?" And
Yeah.
but I was thinking, like, how do cellists and double basses like? I
Right.
mean, for me, it's hard enough. People are traveling with things that are bigger. How on earth do they do it? I do not know.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea. Yeah, because those are instruments you don't want being handled by anybody who comes along.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, not at all. And they would never check it in. And someone told me, as well as the value, it's also to do with the pressure. Apparently, the pressure of being in the cabin,
Oh.
in the hold, sorry, can be damaging to certain instruments.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Oh.
interesting.
So welcome to that world.
Yeah.
Jeez. So talk about the dress as you've embroidered as it was getting embroidered. Did you have to reinforce? I mean, you talked about the boning and did you have to reinforce the seams? And was there a whole process of as you went along that, oh boy, this is starting to get stressed. We need to shore it up a little bit.
Yes. So actually, so the bodice was always fixed and stitched kind of finely, So everything onto the bodice has been added onto the full garment, but the skirt has been taken to pieces 4 times, reassembled, godees put in, things taken out. I took 7 meters of fabric out of it after 4 years because there was just too much fabric. The embroidery was being lost, so it's had so much work on it. So thankfully I realized that was going to be a work in progress, so it was pretty much all hand stitched to start with. And then as things were firmed up and finalized, and then finally in 2019, when the final skirt was completely finished and set, the construction of it, it was all properly sewn on a machine with tiny stitches, and then so finally then there was a big lining was put in as well, just to kind of finish it off. It's funny, there's 50 meters of netting underneath the top skirt. When I first got it, it was like rigid netting, and now it's like the softest tulle you'd ever see, just because for 16 years it's been, moved and around the place. So it's become an entirely different fabric. But I think it's just enough to just kind of complement and support the bell shape of the skirt. But yeah, the most wear and tear really happens on the bodice. I guess it's from all the buttons and loops, on off, on off, on off, on off, on off, and because it's quite fitted. So yeah, all the rouleaus were made by hand in the same silk. So they began to split and stretch after a few years. So I think it was actually in 2024, maybe even 5, just before we finished the project, when Gail and I were kind of getting everything finished, I sat, I think it was for a full day, and then like fully mended every rouleau. So we're talking, Gail and I were saying, are we replacing or are we going to mend, And we thought that actually it'll be really lovely to mend and not kind of put something in that wasn't a part of the project, because everything's kind of got this energy, from all the experiences that the dress has had. So yeah, I used different coloured threads to work on all the rouleaus with buttonhole stitch, and actually it looks much nicer. I think it's all these different colours brought in. Yeah. And then I'm forever tweaking loose threads, especially from the gold layer on the bottom. Very fine thread. I'm forever trying to tying in knots at the back, and because they're often splitting and fraying. But I think now that the dress is handled so carefully, the first few years it really wasn't, because I had no idea what she was becoming, and I treated it like I would any other piece of clothing, and she was often just left out on my table, and whereas now everything is white gloves. And everything's temperature controlled. I think I was telling you last time we had issues with the heat in here. So I had to get someone actually came last week to fix all the radiators, because I've been having all these issues. It's been too hot for the dress. So she's been in my room quite a lot, just all boxed up. So that will all be fine now. So yeah, there's all these things to consider. And of course, moths, that's the really big worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have, moth, what do you call them? Repellents, around the place. I had cedar, which smells lovely, and then someone was like, "Not strong enough. You need the chemicals." I was like, "Oh."
Yeah. So was that was it naphtha?
I think it is. Yeah, it's got a lavender. It's got a lavender tint to it, but it's not very nice.
Still nasty.
Yeah. So if anyone out there has any ideas on like really natural, lovely ways so I can keep moths away, but touch wood, I'm not even going to say it. Yeah, it's an ongoing conservation concern.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I thought cedar was kind of the be all and end all, but not so. Yeah. Huh? Oh.
Well, I think if I got a chest made in cedar, maybe that would be best. I think I've got these little wooden kind of discs, and I think that they're just not strong enough. Maybe I could get cedar oil. Maybe I could have that, maybe infuse them with cedar oil, make it stronger. Yeah, I have to see.
Oh boy. all the things that have entered your life because of this dress. You're an HVAC expert, and you're a moth expert. Oh, geez.
Customs and shipping, and I mean, these are things I had no idea in any way. There's been so much that I've had to learn very quickly and just wing it a lot of the time. Yeah. Definitely.
Now, when you store it in your home, is it on some kind of a frame, some kind of a body shaped frame, mannequin, if you will, or is it on a hanger, or do you have it in a box?
So at the moment, so the skirt is in a box, wrapped as loosely as I can, and she's layered with acid-free tissue paper, and then I have a layer of Tyvek around the top, and ordinarily the bodice would also be in there, and I would wrap her very, very loosely, keeping the arms stuffed to keep the arms shaped. But actually I was very blessed to meet a really great conservator at one of the exhibitions. That was the one in Yorkshire earlier this year. She was so good, and she sat with me and just taught me just so much about how to look after things, and she actually wrapped the bodice for me, and so I just copy what she does now, where she puts it into a box. It's quite a big box, and it's all stuffed and protected underneath. And then obviously the arms innards are kept in, and then she pads out the bodice like a human form with tissue paper. It's really beautiful. And then some of the buttons are done up, and then she tucks her in afterwards. So I've got a video of her doing it because I was just so enthralled. So now I keep that going. So as long as it's just me in transport in the car or whatever in England, that's fine. But obviously for a plane, I wouldn't be able to have two boxes. So for a plane, yeah, they both go in together. Or sometimes I've done it where the skirt goes in the case and then the bodice gets wrapped very loosely and I have it in a rucksack on my back.
Oh my.
So yeah, there's a picture somewhere online, I think it's on Instagram, that the curator from Massachusetts, the Fuller Craft Museum, took when she dropped me at the airport because she couldn't believe that I had the whole dress on me, because I had the bodice in my backpack and then I had like a bum bag with my passport and everything on the front, and then I just had this little wedding dress case with the back, and you would never have known what I was carrying. She
Yeah.
just couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you travel, and I know some of this isn't even on the list here, but these things come to me. When you travel with this thing, is there a kind of in the background, like an inner pressure that you're always aware of what you're carrying and that you need to protect it, like head on a swivel kind of thing?
Completely. And I have, to be honest, I have it all the time unless the dress is away from me. So I have it when she's with me at the moment, stored in my studio. And it's every time I leave my house, my studio, it's kind of like double checking all the locks, all the windows,
Oh boy.
worrying about heat, temperature, worrying about moths. And yeah, when I travel anywhere, if I'm driving with her in the car, if I'm flying with her, it's all, I feel like this. Yeah, so because she's totally irreplaceable,
Right.
completely. There's no value that could ever be put on her that would ever replace what she is. Not to mention, I have contracted exhibitions for the next 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
booked. So if I was to not be able to produce a dress for these exhibitions, then I'd be in breach of contract, and that would be very, very serious. So yeah, there's definitely it's quite a huge pressure actually. I mean, I'm getting more used to it, and I think it's just doing the best I can. I'm not superhuman, and just try and
Right.
make sure. But I have hyper focus for this project, so
Yeah.
I've never been tested, but I'm sure I'm ADHD. I'm completely sure. My one of my sons is, and in doing all his stuff, I was like, well, I do that. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, yep. So I'm sure I'm very neurodiverse. So it means that I do struggle with focusing on lots of things in my life, things that I find boring. But with the red dress and my kids, like I am zoomed in.
Uh,
I can remember everything, anything. I'm like an encyclopedia, because I'm so invested and I'm so, I just love it so much, and it's so much of who I am now. But yeah, in terms of remembering to hang out the washing or picking up milk and this kind of stuff, I'm pretty scatty. But with this,
locked in. Locked in.
locks in.
How do your kids view this thing? Is it just, oh, that's mom's thing, whatever? Or
Yeah, I think, yeah, they've never known anything different. So my
okay.
eldest is 12, so he was sorry, the dress was already, oh gosh, I can't work it out quickly. Was it 4 years old,
Oh,
5 years old when he was born? So they've never known it different. But I think, yeah, when they were younger, they didn't even realize that it was even a thing. They're just so used to seeing this dress around, because back in those days, the dress wasn't that famous, and I did just have it around and a lot. And then they went through a period of just being like, oh, whatever, the dress, so bored. And then I went and I taught the dress to their school, and I did a talk to all their teachers and their friends and the whole school. And they saw the reception that it got, and they saw the questions, and they saw people, in tears, and it was all very emotional, and they were so excited and so proud. And from that moment on, they just love it.
that
They're
turned it.
really, really, yeah, it totally turned it. And they've both embroidered onto the dress now as
Oh,
well.
have they?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. So that they're fully into it now. And one of my sons said to me the other day, "Don't worry, Mum. When you're dead, we'll look after the dress for you. We'll keep it going." Yeah. So no,
Yeah, that makes you officially the only embroiderer whose kids actually want their
yeah,
needlework. Yeah. The only
yeah.
one in the whole world. The whole world. Oh man, yeah. All right, let's talk about interacting with the world.
Mm.
When you started saying, all right, we need to have women from all over the world contribute, you must have had to lay out a plan for that, and how, in terms of how you're going to get contributions. I mean, some people have stitched directly on the dress, others have sent things in.
Mhm.
Talk about how that all came together, because that had to be sit down and work out logistics for a bit of time here.
So originally, I didn't really have any kind of deep plan other than find loads of people from lots of different countries who will be interested to work on the project. And because it was so painfully slow at the beginning, it was just so many emails and reaching out to people, trying to get people interested. And the project it looked different then. I didn't have any experience in managing a project of such scale. I didn't have all the languages, so there was lots of kind of learning and working things out along the way. And then, so the first three commissions that I got on the dress was a student in Manchester who did this beautiful drip pattern on the back of the bodice.
Mm-hmm.
It was Razmia and Lena from Palestine being supported in Lebanon, who I found on Google really randomly or not, very perfectly. Thank you,
Yeah.
universe.
I'm
But
concluding there's nothing
yeah,
random about this
there's
at all.
nothing
There's
random.
no
No,
random. No, no more.
I mean, it's incredible. They're supported by an initiative called Al Badia in Lebanon, and they're still in the camp 16 and a half years later.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's been very hard to get information from them, but I do have a picture and I have the women's names, and I send their annual donation to them. And then the third one was Hand and Lock in London, which is like a very established embroidery studio in
Yes.
Soho. So they were the three, very different. And that was the first, 6 months of the project. And then, it was very slow. So it was literally like, oh, great, someone's going to do it. Okay, focus on that, And then as it suddenly began to get more momentum, then I began to think a bit more strategically about it. And I was like, okay, this is really great, but where do I really want to connect with? There are particular places, for instance, like Guatemala, Russia, places that I really wanted because I was very interested in their embroidery. I
Okay,
never got
so
Guatemala.
initially then it's get some people to contribute, but
Yes.
then you start looking at, all right, where am I going to get who has a message to send then?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
at first, it was more about embroidery tradition and heritage and culture. And then after I began connecting with more vulnerable women through that decision, I was like, oh no, I want to steer it more towards that now.
Okay.
So then I began to steer it to reach out to charities and to anyone who knew of initiatives working with embroidery to support women. And so there became a much more of a kind of focus to it. Although I was also very much in the space of trusting that whoever came in was meant to be involved. So there was no one I turned down. Because after a while it then switched and people would then approach me, which was incredible from the painfully slow at the beginning.
Yeah.
And yeah, so no one was turned down. There were a few people who didn't accept my
Oh.
offer because of money. I couldn't afford them. So there was an embroiderer in Argentina, and yeah, I could no way afford her fee. And then there was a studio in Russia. I think they quoted something like $2,500 for theirs. So I just said,
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
And then and then what began to happen was that we were being invited to do exhibitions, and then I was paid to come out with the dress, deliver the dress, be a part of the exhibition, give talks and things, and then I would organize embroidery, on that trip. So that was very exciting because it also meant I could be there, I could meet the embroiderers, I could
Yeah.
be a part of the process, I could document it, because that's the other thing. So many of the earlier ones where all I was sending was a panel in the post. I mean, what I got back was very varied. The embroidery was always wonderful, but in terms of documentation and photographs, it was whatever they had available. So some people, it was a blurry mobile phone picture. There were others where they did have a really good camera and got someone to take pictures. So, but that's just, I think, it just shows that it actually was a very authentic,
Right. Right.
It was very real. It didn't have a big budget. It was on a shoestring, and it
Yeah.
was what it was. But then, yeah, as funding came in from 2020 onwards, and I was able to go with, then yeah, the documentation is much more expansive
Yeah.
and broader.
And folks, you can contribute to this project. Go to the website, reddressembroidery.com. And yeah, if you want to help,
Thank you.
that's a way to help.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because two seats on an airplane is not cheap. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. The finances are an ongoing juggle. I spend so much of my time trying to raise funds. And it's all separate. Like someone said to me the other day, "Are you just funded by someone?" I was like, "Wow, that would be amazing." Can you imagine just someone saying, "Here's 50 grand a year, go do your thing,"
yeah,
or
yeah,
so no, everything has to be fundraised and worked out, which is it's very tedious, to be honest, because
yeah.
I'm really not I'm not into writing like 75 sides of text about things.
Right,
I
right,
want to make, and I want to meet people, and I want
right.
to kind of create. But I also recognize it's part of the process. And actually, to be fair, some of the funding applications I've done have really helped me hone ideas down and think about things in new ways, and definitely helped my writing skills, which were pretty ropey before.
Uh,
Uh, and what's great is when you get one, then it's then much easier to get another one.
yeah.
It's just getting that first one. Oh my gosh, it's like just this never-ending mountain to climb, and then suddenly someone just gives you that break, and it's like, oh, thank goodness.
You're going to sit back one day and you're just going to make a mental list of all the things you've learned because of one dress.
Yeah, I should do
It's,
that.
yeah,
That's a great idea.
that's going to be
Yeah,
mind blowing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All the way down to HVAC.
yeah.
Who knew? Who knew? You said that you sent a panel. You would send a panel out. What are all the mechanics of doing that? So,
Hmm.
I mean, we're sending pieces that then are incorporated into the skirt. How do we go about all that?
Hmm. So, so the initial contact is made either with I'm accessing straight away to a person, or maybe it's a charity, maybe it's a group, and different kind of ways. So there's a period of just connecting and trust building, really, and trying to for me to communicate my idea, my vision, and for them to ask the questions that they need to ask, and um, yeah, just work out all the logistics, the size of the piece, of the fabric, their fee, how we'll do the posting and the transportation, because it's very different, say, working with someone in Paris to someone in DR Congo, for
Yeah,
instance.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these things. And then there were some people who really struggled with the openness of the brief, and they wanted a lot more direction, like, oh no, please tell us what to stitch, or please tell
Oh,
me the colors and all this. So I really tried my best to just, give them as much freedom and just give them that permission, because I think for some people it was actually a very important process, for instance, the women in DR Congo and Rwanda, there was a few back and forths with the lady that supports them, just really checking in on this. And I was like, no, I really want them to stitch what they want to stitch. Like, if they're sharing their voices with the world, what would they say?
mm-hmm.
So they're used to stitching, like designed
Right.
motifs for napkins and curtains and things. So I was like, no, I really want them to just use their own voice. So once they finally really understood that, it was almost like, oh my goodness, this is huge, and here we go. So that was beautiful. And then some people like to send me sketches and ideas, just to kind of check in about things, but most didn't. And then, so yeah, I sent out the panel in the post. So
And
for me,
what size of panel are we talking about? I mean, what is
so
it?
there was, yeah, I mean, all different. So the largest panel, which I delivered in person to Egypt, was 4 meters by 2 meters. That was by far the hugest, and that's been cut up into lots of smaller pieces since. But generally,
Okay,
most of them.
for U.S. people, that's a little bit more than 2 yards by like 2.5 to 4.5 yards, something like
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
yeah,
forget that.
that's okay.
And then there were the majority of the rest of the panels ranged. A lot of them were about 80 by 40 centimeters. What's that in yards? That
Say it again.
80 centimeters by 40.
80 centimeters, 2.5 centimeters in an inch, so 40 inches ish.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. And then half of that again, so 40 by 20. So
Yeah.
that
Okay.
was the kind of two most common. And then there were some very randomly sized shapes and pieces. There are triangular godays that have gone in to create the fullness at the bottom of the
Oh.
skirt, but not have it at the top. There are long, thin pieces. There are squares. There's even some triangles on there. Little triangles as well as the godays. There are some
So
little
this
triangles.
skirt is just a puzzle then, a puzzle
It's
of
completely
pieces.
a puzzle,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And it was definitely not designed in that way at the beginning. It was literally cut up as we go, and I'll make it work. So I think a lot of people would have probably done it a bit more organized than that, and maybe had a grid system. And if I think about it now, if I did it again, I probably would maybe be a bit more organized. But at the same time, I quite like that it was just so organic, and the things
Right.
just came in. And obviously
Well,
some of the embroiderers.
but in fairness, this thing, yeah, if you were started out and knew what it was going to be, that would be
Yeah,
one thing. You had no
yeah,
idea when you
no idea.
started,
No,
so it
no.
has to evolve. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's something quite cool about that, I think. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't this big budget, easy experience thing. It was just me learning all the time and making decisions and doing things again and doing it better. And yeah, just like all the time trying to kind of grow with it. So then it was up to the embroiderer to just have their time with the fabric. There was never really like deadlines apart from the first three embroiderers, because that was for the first performance of me in the cube. So I think they had a month or so to do theirs. But everyone else, it was just much more relaxed. It was just like, yep, whenever you're ready, because it was just this ongoing
Yeah.
piece of work. And I always had a blank piece where it was going to go. So there was always a dress to be exhibited, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And then, so most people took maybe 2 or 3 months, the whole process from start to finish. The Mexican two godays on the front of the dress, created in Chiapas, they were both stitched in a week, which is
Oh my.
incredible, so incredible. And because of postage there, I had this whole system of people hand carrying and delivering both sides. So that was a bit of a deadline for that one, because things had to be arranged and met, and then it was finally posted to me from
Uh-huh.
someone in the UK. The longest one was Vietnam. Did I tell you about that one? So
I don't
that
think
guess
so. No.
guess how long it took from start to finish?
Uh, Months?
7.5 years it took.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So there was a reason, because Tame, Tame is her name. She lives in a northern mountainous village in Vietnam called Taffin, and she is a very experienced embroiderer and makes beautiful jackets. But she got the fabric and she was like, "Oh no, how do I stitch onto this?" Because she is so used to doing her counted stitch work, Mayan
Oh.
embroidery, with like a loose weave canvas where you're using the holes between the warp and the weft to count your stitches, so you
Right.
can see the holes, right? So with Dupion, you can't even see the holes. You cannot do counted stitch work on such a fabric. So she put it aside for years and was just like, and then it took the pandemic and she couldn't work. So she said, okay, I'm gonna try and do this panel for the red dress now. And it's exquisite. It really is. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. She just went freestyle just onto it, and it's absolutely magnificent. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. Counted people when they encounter the freedom of just put the needle wherever you want. Yeah. It's a struggle.
Yes. Yeah.
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 Exactly. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
just really going against the grain, but I think probably very empowering for her
Oh, I'm
at the
sure.
same
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So every week when the mail comes
Mm,
during this period, this is an experience for you. You never know what's going to show up, or do you generally?
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'd often be told on email, "It's heading to you now. I've posted it now." But then you have no idea how long it's going to take.
Right.
But it was one of my favorite things of the initial project, was receiving the packages, and it would always be like a little ceremony of opening. And so often I'd be able to smell the country, or
Oh.
what I assume was the country, or maybe even spices or whatever, whilst I was opening it. It would often be very sensory, which was really lovely. And then, yeah, there were a few, like with the Rwandan panel, I had no idea what was coming with that one. And it really floored me. And I just remember having to sit down and feeling sick and feeling like I'd been hit just from this raw power of this piece of embroidery. And I just was holding it in my hands, just going like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that they've, created something so beautiful. And the trust, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
And some of the packages were extraordinary in their own right. So Elna Carr from Sweden, who did this beautiful crewel piece, very folk inspired, she hand drew this beautiful design all around the outside of her package.
Oh,
It was absolutely
because
exquisite.
she's an
I've actually,
artist. She's
yeah,
an
she's an
artist. She
artist.
can't help it.
Yeah, yeah, it's really lovely. I've kept most of the packages, so I've got them in storage. And all the different stamps that are coming back as well, all very exciting. And then customs labels often. So the panel from Japan I think it was stuck in customs for 3 months.
Oh,
That was a bit stressful. I mean, I'm not worried about the fabric going out. I can replace that, but obviously when it's coming back to me,
right,
then that's pretty tricky.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my. So if we put all the pieces together, you have a museum exhibit with the packages, and you've got a
Yes.
story to tell. Oh boy.
Yes. Yeah. No one's chosen to do that yet. I often say I've got packaging. I've got this. I've collected all the different things, documentation from the project. But maybe in her final resting place, they'll do that. I nearly included pictures in the book, but obviously there was so much I wanted to put in the book that I just couldn't. So yeah,
Right.
that'll have to be for another time.
Yeah, it's a problem with books. There's a limit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was going to ask you if there was one contribution that brought tears to your eyes. So it was the
Hmm.
Rwanda one then.
Hmm. Quite a few have. That
Yeah.
would be one. And then also the panels from Bosnia and Herzegovina, from the survivors
Ah.
of sexual violence, Kosovo, the Birds of Peace, and the piece from DR Congo, which are the empowered words from the women. So those four, yes, come to mind straight away. They're very like heartbreaking, but
Mhm.
also all of the pieces have this beautiful. In fact, they all do completely have this real kind of really strong feeling of hope and healing.
Mhm.
That 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 it's not all about trauma. It's about their journeys, from trauma, from darkness to light. That's the title of the Rwandan panel, From Darkness to Light. It's the
Yeah.
same with the Kosovan birds. It's from from the hells of war to healing and recovery.
Yeah.
And then from Bosnia and Herzegovina, from victim to victory. So it's all about this process that these incredible, courageous women are going through.
Yeah. Oh, because I mean, now you got me going back through the book there and these stories, and it's so powerful on so many fronts, and it's interesting now that we've talked for the better part of 2 hours about this thing, how you refer to it as she, but how this
Mm,
is taken on its own life. It's this own entity.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
really feel that. I really feel that. And also, quite a lot at the moment, I'm having conversations with people about her healing powers. I feel like she's on quite a mission with those that she interacts with.
hmm.
I see a lot of times when people come into contact with her, there's lots of tears, there's lots of trigger stories, lots of hugs, lots of sharing. Often people will come back again and again and again to see her. There was one young lady that stood in front of her. Did I tell you this already? I can't remember. For about 20 minutes, she just stood with her arms like this in front of the dress. And she just came up to me afterwards and said, I just had to go and absorb some of that energy. I just find it
Whoa.
so healing. Yeah. So
Whoa.
yeah, it was incredible. And when the dress began to get serious momentum and I began to travel with her and we were beginning to, really do our thing, I was getting ill a lot, like a lot. And I remember in Mexico, I was ill for most of that trip and I just found the whole thing just so enormous and huge, and I felt like it was bringing up all my stuff. And I shared I went to counseling after Kosovo, and it was just a
Right.
really it stirred me up in this huge way. And then suddenly it just eased, and then this kind of lightness came in, and that's my own personal experience. So I think um yeah, I feel like that those she comes into contact with often go through quite a process. Like people working in the museums, for instance, the curators, the people that are working in the museum shops. I've heard stories of, that they've been going through things and then they have this big grief when she leaves. And even a few weeks ago in Glastonbury, there was this young woman who had this massive process, huge process, and all these huge joining of dots happened during her time with the dress of, genetics and mother and
Oh,
war and all this stuff. And she was in tears. And yeah, so this happens a lot with the dress. And there's a particular exhibition that's coming up soon where a lot of the staff are in this kind of going through quite a lot of a big process together. And I was saying to one of them, I think it's probably the dress doing her thing. She's getting you already. Yeah. So I think she brings stuff up to be worked through. I feel that.
yeah,
And I think for those that meet her at the right time or, in a particular way, it can often have quite a huge effect.
yeah.
Yeah.
And my sense is, in talking to you, that you're not nearly the same person you were when it started.
No, I'm so different. I'm
Yeah,
so different.
yeah.
Yeah, massively different. In fact, my family would totally,
Oh,
back that up. I think it was a combination of the dress and then also finding meditation. Those two things have
hmm,
completely flipped my whole perspective and understanding of reality and connection to myself. That's a huge one. Like I had no self-love, no respect for myself for
oh,
most of my life up until my kind of late 20s, early 30s. And then suddenly I was just on this huge journey of kind of recognition and acknowledgement and understanding. And yeah, I feel like I'm so grateful because I know that for a lot of people in one lifetime, that's a big arc to go through from
mhm,
where I've come from to where I am now.
yeah,
And I feel very, very, very grateful because I just feel happier and happier as I get older. And
yeah.
it's not always the way for people.
Right.
The dress is a huge part of that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that is so cool. So cool. Yeah. Well, it just, because if you take it back to the very basics, it's a bunch of thread and cloth.
Mm.
At the most basic, but the power that is obviously come out of that combination on a global basis is just kind of beyond belief almost. Yeah. And
Yeah, it's extraordinary to me as well that what I began with and how it all, those first few years and now where we're at, and it's extraordinary.
yeah,
I'm grateful every day, for the journey, but it is absolutely extraordinary. I think it's just the right time at the right place. I think COVID was a massive accelerator
oh, yeah,
um, for the project, as we were all going through such anxiety and fear and separation. And that was just when the dress was launching. And yeah, and I think, we're not having an easy time of it now. I mean, it's just like it breaks my heart what's going on in the greater world.
yeah,
And it's in so many different places. It's not like it's just one place. And I think as a world, we need these positive stories. We need these kind of lifts, don't we? We need something to celebrate and to feel happy about. And I really hope that the red dress can do that. It shows what you can do when you come together, support each other in community. It shows, what connection can achieve, and
yeah,
looking out for the other and supporting the other and using voice and being listened to and all these things. And I really hope that she can inspire those feelings in others.
yeah. All right, we end there. Well done.
Yeah.
All right, Kirstie, thanks so much. Wow,
Pleasure.
thanks, and I mean, thank you for doing this. Wow, just
No, thank you for having me on again.
yeah,
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to be able to share them and have them on the website. And yeah,
yeah,
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
excellent. All right, thank you, and thanks to everyone for listening.